Hello everyone and welcome back to Math Minutes. In this episode, we'll be focusing on decimal numbers and discovering how to add, subtract, multiply and divide them. So if you've ever wondered what those digits to the right of the decimal point really mean, you're in the right place. Grab your pens and let's get started. Decimal numbers are a crucial part of our number system, helping us express values more precisely than whole numbers alone. Think of them as the bridge between integers. Imagine we have the number 3.14. The decimal point separates the whole number part 3 from the decimal part 14. Each digit's position to the right of the decimal point has a specific value, tenths, hundredths, and so on. Understanding the place value of decimals is key. Each place value represents a fraction of the whole. As you move to the right, the values become smaller, allowing us to express fractions of a whole in a clear and concise manner. Now, let's talk operations. Adding and subtracting decimals is as easy as lining up the decimal points and performing the operation, just like with whole numbers. Remember to keep the alignment accurate to avoid confusion, and pad with zeros if needed. For example, let's work out the sum 3.7 plus 4.62. We first set this out by lining up the decimal points, and then we fill with zeros where needed. This gives us 3.70 plus 4.62. As with whole numbers, add the digits one column at a time, right to left. 0 plus 2, which equals 2. 7 plus 6 equals 13, so we write 3 under this column and carry the 1 to the next. 3 plus 4 equals 7, so we have 7 in this column, but don't forget the 1 that we carried over from the previous column. This means that we write 8 in this column. So our answer is 8.32. Let's consider an example where we subtract a decimal number. Let's work out 9.18 minus 5.769. As before, we set this out by lining up the decimal points and filling in zeros where needed. 9.180 minus 5.769. We subtract the digits one column at a time, from right to left. From the thousandths column, we can see that we need to borrow a digit from the hundredths column. So this gives us 10 minus 9, which equals 1. So we write this under the line. The subtraction in the hundredths column is 7 minus 6, which equals 1. Remember that we borrowed a digit from this column to the thousandths column. For the tenths column, we need to borrow a digit from the units column. So this gives us 11 minus 7, which equals 4. Finally, we subtract the units column. Since we borrowed a digit from here, we have 8 minus 5, which equals 3. So our answer to 9.180 minus 5.769 is 3.411. Multiplying decimals requires a little more attention. Start by multiplying as if they were whole numbers. Then, count the total number of decimal places in the factors and add them together. This will be the total number of decimal places in your product. For example, suppose we were to work out 0.15 times 0.8. Let's multiply these numbers as if they were whole numbers and ignore the decimal point for the moment. 15 times 8 equals 120. Now, count the total number of decimal places in the factors. 2 decimal places in 0.15 and 1 decimal place in 0.8 gives us a total number of 3. This is going to be the total number of decimal places in our product, so we simply shift the value 120 so that the first 3 digits come after the decimal point. This gives us the answer 0.120 or 0.12. Division can be a little tricky. Dividing decimals involves moving the decimal point in both the number being divided and the number that divides it. So, in other words, we multiply the divisor by a power of 10 to make it a whole number. And then we multiply the number that is being divided by that very same power of 10. Then perform the division as usual. Remember to make sure that the decimal points are lined up in the calculation. Since both numbers were multiplied by the same power of 10, we won't need to divide our answer by this power at the end. Let's look at an example to illustrate this. Let's work out 1.626 divided by 0.03. First, we multiply both numbers by 100 to make the divisor a whole number. 0.03 times 100 equals 3. So 1.626 times 100 equals 162.6. With this in hand, we perform the division as usual. So 1.626 divided by 0.03 equals 162.6 divided by 3. Remember, we line up the decimal points in our division. 3 does not divide into 1, so we carry over the 1 to the tens column. 3 divides into 16 5 times with 1 remainder, so we write 5 above the line and carry over the remainder to the units column. 3 divides into 12 exactly 4 times, so we write this above this column. 3 divides into 6 twice, so again we write this above this column. So 1.626 divided by 0.03 equals 54.2. And there you have it. Adding, subtracting, multiplying and dividing decimal numbers isn't as tricky as it seems. Just remember the rules we discussed and you'll be a pro in no time. Don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Until next time, keep curious about the world of numbers.